the Cluckin Crew podcast with your hosts, series creator and voice of Chucky Chicken, Michael Cook, lead director, storyboard artist, and compositor, Elias Levine, and art director, lead character designer, and lore keeper, Tino Calcaterra. Join us for animation news, behind-the-scenes info on the series, special guests, audience interactive events, and much more. And now, on with the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Cluckin Crew, the official Chucky Chicken podcast. I am your host, the creator and voice of Chucky himself, Michael Cook. With me, as always, is my very dear friend, my co-director, co-producer, and head of storyboarding and compositing, Elias Levine.
Hello, once again, everybody.
And today, we have a very, very special guest. First and foremost, coming all the way here from Pallet Town, the one and only Pokémon Professor Samuel Oak is in the house. Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you, Professor. I see that you've arrived here as a Pokemon of yourself. Is this your own Pidgeotto, or is it on loan?
This is just my special appearance, Pidgeotto.
Nice.
That we brought out for the occasion. I hope you like the outfit.
I love the outfit. It's very, very becoming of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I understand that you brought your friend, Mr. Stuart Zagnit, with you today, too.
Yes, he always likes to tag along no matter where I go. He's almost as bad as my grandson, Gary. But
Oh, is that his name?
I forgot.
Think,
Did
maybe?
someone say that?
Well, oh my gosh. Well, we're going to have a lot of fun today, Professor. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the star of one of the great actors of stage and screen, the incomparable Stuart Zagnit is here with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, and hello to all my fans, and thank you, Professor Oak, for letting me tag along. You're very welcome. Just don't take up too much of my time.
No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You hear that, Michael? That's how it's done. Thank you, Chucky. Gosh, it's an honor to meet you, Professor Oak. I gotta tell you, I've always wanted to be a Pokemon trainer myself.
Well, you know how you get to be a trainer.
Well, I think so, but I don't. I know I'm older than 10, but I don't have a Pokemon Professor over here in Featherton. Maybe you know what.
You know, they always say practice, practice, practice is the way, or if you're in Washington, you should know somebody.
Well, we're not quite there, but I'll practice anyway.
Yes, that's the way to become a true Pokemon master.
Yes, sir. What about you, Elias? What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm already a Pokemon master. I'm not too worried about it.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's confidence for you.
Well, there you go. He's been through Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, Hoenn, all of them. I've only been through Kanto.
The only one I didn't go to was Unova. I don't really dig the vibe.
It's okay.
Yes, and don't forget about Groucho, Chico, and Harpo.
Oh, of course not. On the Marks Islands, right?
Then there's Gummo and Zeppo, but be careful of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then there's also the Isles of Curly, Larry, and Moe. But they're...
Oh, yes.
Yes.
and don't step in Shemp, whatever you do.
And just remember, no Mo Coley Joe. So that was a reach.
That's a good one, yes.
I appreciate it. See, I told you I'm funny, Elias. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're all right.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, gosh. But anyway, folks, we do have Mr. Zagnit here. So if you have questions that you would like to ask, I have one very important question that I do want to ask Stuart. Obviously, you have been in the business for so long, but how did you get your start? Like, what was the catalyst that led you to acting? Not necessarily voice acting, but how did you get started?
Well, it was a rather uh, unusual thing. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to entertain,
Mm-hmm.
and I would credit such influences like watching Laurel and Hardy, shorts on TV, and Abbott and Costello,
Mm-hmm.
and Jerry Lewis, and who else? The Three Stooges,
Oh, of course.
and I, I credit them all because these are all now that used to be on television regularly. They were no longer first run things, but I grew up and after school there'd be all these entertainments that I would watch, and
Mm-hmm.
they made me laugh. And at the time, Jerry Lewis was a big influence because he loved to do physical comedy and do pratfalls.
Yeah.
So I remember setting up the living room as an obstacle course. So I'd move things around,
Mm-hmm.
pieces of furniture, and try to trip, tumble, land on my face, and just hit as many pieces of furniture as I could. And it was just, I realized I was just teaching myself uh, uh, physical comedy,
Oh my gosh.
and I loved it. And the weird thing that happened was I lived in a very small town in New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
and did not have a lot of cultural outlets.
Okay.
And and to my surprise, an actor who had a very impressive resume, having done films in Europe, he met and married a woman in my area that wrote for the local paper,
No kidding.
and so he settled here in Spotswood, New Jersey, where I grew up. That's where it was, Central Jersey.
Okay.
And he's opened up a little acting school, which was like exactly what I wanted to do. I think I was the first kid to sign up for him.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
So I started doing children's theater with him. He also did productions like community theater in the summer. In a neighboring town, Metuchen, there was a thing called Plays in the Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing shows with him in there, and it was exactly like my dream. So, so it made sense that I would continue to do theater in school, in grade school, in high school. High school, I was president of my drama club,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to college, Montclair State College in Montclair, New Jersey, and majored in speech and theater.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it just moved, completely along very naturally. And
So
then I graduated and started looking for professional work.
sure. Now when you
So
oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was going to say
no. So it's just that it just seemed to be. It seemed meant to be because things happened that helped me continue in that area, and I just knew this was where I wanted to be, and I guess you could say I never found anything that I loved doing better. I just kept at it.
Nice.
That's the
Yeah.
way to do it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you find something you really love doing, you got to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it was fulfilling my own ambitions. I do think my late mother got a real kick out of me wanting to perform, and I think in a way it was kind of fulfilling some dreams of hers that were never realized. So
Mm-hmm.
so that felt good too. So I felt like I was carrying on, fulfilling some inner desires there that needed to be addressed, and then I actually found out that I could make a living doing it. So that was even better.
You know, that's the artist's dream, right? To not only do
Right.
you love what you do, but then you get paid to do what you do. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that was the same thing with like every animator, like watching Disney movies and just one day realizing as a kid, wait a minute, you can get paid to draw cartoons?
Yeah.
I am 100% down. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's possible, and the thing is, you should always be aspiring to that. And you know, it's funny because I did have an uncle, my father's, I guess, the closest brother to my father, and I would often, see him and he'd say, "How you doing?" And I would tell him about something I was involved in. There was a play or something, and he'd go, "Uh-huh, uh-huh. They pay you for that?" And,
That's my
and
grandma.
I said, "Yes, uncle, they do pay me for that."
That is
for
amazing. Oh my gosh. My grandma's the same way. I'll tell her about this awesome idea. Is it paying, Michael? Show me the money. Show me the money. So, but she's from Brooklyn, New York. So, I mean,
that's where I live right now.
No
Brooklyn, New York.
kidding. That is what a small boiled.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that my family history is that my grandparents, they came over from Russia.
Okay.
And they settled they came from Russia, they settled in Brooklyn. And this was like right after the turn of the century. And so they lived in Brooklyn. My mother was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then my grandfather was apparently having some problems even that far back with the city and congestion and pollution.
Oh.
Maybe the fumes from the cars. So he heard about this resort area in New Jersey that was considered a spa, and people would go swim in this beautiful lake. And they'd go, if you had something, you go for the cure,
Yeah.
And so they moved to Spotswood, New Jersey, and there was a grocery store in the center of town on Main Street, and my grandparents took over the business from the previous owners.
Very cool.
And
Nice.
ran the store. I was born in Spotswood, and of course I went to college in Montclair. I continued to live in Montclair for a few more years, and in 1977 I moved to New York. So my mother was born in Brooklyn, moved to New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey and moved back to Brooklyn. So
it's a vicious cycle.
It is. But it's one that I really enjoy, because I it took me a little while to adjust to Brooklyn, and I love it very much now. So,
well, you know what they say, once you're in Brooklyn, you're always in Brooklyn. So there's no escaping.
That's right, because they'll hunt you down. Yeah.
You're too true, especially if you're Italian. I should know.
Well, this neighborhood was a very heavy Italian neighborhood. It has since, expanded, and it's multi-ethnic, multicultural now. The French have adopted it. There's an immersion French school here, and it's quite an international neighborhood.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. A little fun story. Years and years ago, my grandfather took my cousin Tony and my brother Alex to his home in Brooklyn. His sister was living there at the time, and they were going to go see the Yankees play in the old Yankee Stadium before they tore it down. So this was like 2009, 2010, about that time. And my grandpa's sister was still living in the same apartment that they had been in since, I think, the 40s at that point. And like none of the wallpaper was changed, none of the furniture, like the furnishings, they were all the same. It was insane, and I'm kind of jealous that I didn't get to go on that trip. But
sure.
But I've always wanted to see the old home and old school Brooklyn. It just sounds so fun. I'd love to see it one day.
It's there. It's still there. A lot of it's changed, and some of it's hasn't changed at all. So,
well, very cool.
Yeah.
So you're in New York. It's the mid '70s. You're starting your career in acting. What were the first things that you were doing?
The first thing. The first show I actually did, I didn't have any of my union cards yet. I was
Sure.
really, green, and there was a producer that did children's theater all over the state of Louisiana, and he had a casting call in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a non-union tour, but they were doing Pinocchio, a live version of Pinocchio, and I was cast as Mr. Cat in, in Pinocchio. And if this were a visual thing, I had a wonderful picture of Mr. Cat I could have showed you, but
Yeah, if you okay, I was about to say if you want to send it to me, we could show it here, but if it's if it's an actual like physical thing, shoot, darn it. Okay.
well, I mean, I might have it on my phone,
Okay.
but I'd have to literally
Dig for it.
my phone has. I mean, I could try it as we're talking. It's very possible
Okay.
that I could come up with it. If I do,
Yeah.
it's quite precious, I have to say.
Oh, well, then we have to see it at that point. And
my
so, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. So I did that, and what's great about a lot of these things lead to amazing stories. So I'm this young actor, and we have apartments in the French Quarter, which
Mhm.
I'd never been to before, and eventually like just fell in love. It was a magical place, and it was always touristy, but there was something very authentic about it. It's become much more commercialized, I think, in recent years.
Yeah.
So I have this very romantic sense. So, just for information, so I was married right after school, after I graduated college. I was down in New Orleans with my wife at the time, right? And we decided that first evening we would take a stroll through the French Quarter and really get to see what it was like. So French Quarter is just an amazing place.
Mm-hmm.
There's music everywhere, and of course Bourbon Street is the signature street in the French Quarter.
Oh yeah.
And that's every block. There's more jazz coming out of the places, and so we're walking up Bourbon Street, and we're on the east side of Bourbon Street going north. And at one point, I see a man in a business suit smoking a cigarette under a street lamp. So it had this very kind of classic thing of this one guy standing by himself smoking a cigarette in a suit.
Yeah.
And I just glanced at him, and I went, I know who that is. And I just say to my wife, that's Tennessee Williams.
No.
And my wife says, no, it's not. And I said, that's Tennessee Williams. And I start to cross the street,
Mm-hmm.
and I hear her shouting behind me saying, don't embarrass me. So I can't stop myself. I head across the street, and I walk up to the man in the suit smoking the cigarette, and I timidly go, Mr. Williams? And he raises his head and goes, yes. And I like, my hand suddenly emerges, and I go, it is such a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Williams. And we shake hands, and I went, I met Tennessee Williams on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, my first night there ever. And it was like, we had a nice chat because there was a revival of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Nice.
Which was a classic of his that was playing on Broadway. We talked about that. And, this is before cell phones. So I didn't get a selfie with him.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
But I got the meeting, and that was like a once in a lifetime thing. So
Oh my gosh,
That's awesome.
And for those who are young and don't know who Tennessee Williams was, he was an amazing playwright. He wrote A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof,
Right.
Suddenly Last Summer.
Yes, very good. And he also came from that area. This was his hometown, and he still had an apartment there. So he was just, on a stroll in his neighborhood, and I just happened to pass by him. So it was one of those really wonderful happenstances there that.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love those stories.
That was a nice way also for me to know I'm in the right business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say you're in the right business.
Magical things happen in this business,
Well, we're having a magical moment right here, just chatting and talking with you. That is.
And just so you know, while I'm doing this, I'm scrolling through my photos to find that picture of Mr. Cat. So I have a bunch of other things I can probably send you.
Oh,
too.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely.
What we're doing.
So while you're looking and scrolling, I do want to announce that our buddy Tino is here in the traditional way that we do it. Tino!
Hello. Hello. Sorry for being late.
It's okay.
Well, we're used to it, Tino.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, believe me, they are used to it.
You have no idea how right you are. and let me, I should have done this earlier. I feel bad, but let me say hello to some of the folks here that are tuning in. So we got Kimberly Gonzalez, Alam Aguilar, Charlie Harhar Studios, Harvey Maltese Mancia is here, Adali Baez is here, Farnagan, hello, good to see you. Shay White is here, welcome. The Coffee Cat Dad has made it. Good to see you. Let's see who else we have. I love the screen names of some of these guys. It's so fun. Cat Fox is here. Good to see you. Azael Boomer Palenko, welcome back. Good to see you. Let's see. And yeah, I believe that is everybody who is here. Pardon me for my gum being chewed while I'm talking here. So, welcome everybody. If you're just tuning in, our new friend Stuart Zagnit is here, and he's just talking to us about his career and an amazing experience that he had meeting the one and only Tennessee Williams. So cool. So right off the back, we got a question here from Boomer Palenko. Mr. Zagnit, not a question, but similarly, how I became a costume performer via Boomer is quite simple. As a kid, I used to watch stuff like the Tweenies and the Teletubbies, and here I am now. Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
There's
great.
a job for everything.
Yes.
When you think about it, there's a job for everything.
And everything has a job.
Exactly.
Yes. And while we're talking now,
yes.
If I'm sending something to you, what should I do it as a text or what should I do?
Yeah, send it to me. You can actually do it through Discord if you like. Posting in this in our little messenger here. They won't be able to see it, so I'll have to download it and then put it through
Discord.com.
Or on your phone if it's easier, like through the app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
I'm not very. Let me see if that's sent.
You know
I
what?
just sent.
Yeah, Discord.
No, it's failed.
Oh, did it? Here, let me.
Yeah, they're not going through. So let's see.
Yeah, so text them to me, and then I will utilize them. So I'll just send them right back at myself.
And what's your text?
Oh, just my phone number.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on.
Let's not say that whole thing on the screen. That might be a bad idea.
I don't feel like
Does everybody have a Everybody have a pencil? Yeah.
You're about to get important information here, folks.
Yeah.
Oh
Very
my
good.
gosh.
Let's see. I'm just trying to find our
Yeah, I'll
conversation.
yeah, let me I don't think have we texted? If not, I'll hey
We,
there. I'll just
yeah,
text
I
right
thought
now.
we have.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. All right, hold on. Let me jot it down.
Cool. So, very cool. It looks like everyone's having a fun time. We see lots of laughter here in the stream. That's
Oh, good.
yes.
Good.
So, but yeah. So if you're just tuning in, you are more than welcome to ask a question of Mr. Stuart Zagnit here. Yeah, this is already getting derailed here. I'm getting a little nervous. I don't know why.
Really?
Starstruck.
Oh.
I always get starstruck. I don't know why. Elias,
Bitches.
Because you're Michael.
shut up, Tino. Why are you laughing at me?
What was that, Mike?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was trying to throw a line to see if you would save me here, but
Well, I didn't hear the line.
oh,
'cause you got interrupted.
I didn't get a line because I was interrupted.
All of you to assume that Elias will save you.
Fair, yeah.
You are so right. Oh my gosh. DreamWorks Moon actually has an interesting question, but I'm going to rephrase it. We haven't quite gotten to that part of the program here, but what was your inspiration for Professor Oak?
My inspiration was I really needed a job, and
You know, that's
so
fair.
so nobody asked me how I came to audition for Pokemon. So the story is,
Yes.
I was a freelance actor in New York, and I really, I was just going from job to job. I had a friend
Mm-hmm.
who was my neighbor in Brooklyn, who had been a former actor. So he had had a career as a child actor and a teenager. I think after a few shows and whatnot, he got a little disillusioned with the acting biz. He kind of dropped out of it, went to law school, which was a good move for him because he became a very high-powered and successful lawyer.
Oh.
But he still had friends in the business. So one day we bumped into each other, and he says, a buddy of mine is producing this new, I think he just said animated show. He didn't. I don't think anime was really a word that we were using then.
Yeah.
And he said they're looking
Fairly
for
new.
character.
Yeah.
He says they're looking for character voices. So he said, "Here's his number. Tell him you're a friend of mine. They'll set up an appointment for you so you can go in and audition."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "That's really great. Thank you." So I called him up. They set up an audition for me. I went to a studio, and they would show me pictures of the characters, and I must have done 4 or 5 different characters. At this point, I can't remember what the other characters I read for, but one of them was this kind of eccentric looking professor character.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't going to play the Japanese dialogue because it really doesn't translate to English. Hearing the Japanese language and delivery. So really, I looked at the picture and saw the dialogue, and I just kind of pulled something out of the air. I don't remember what it was,
Sure.
But I did it, and I went home. And then about maybe 2 weeks went by,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a message from them saying they wanted to hire me to do this professor voice. And I went, "Oh, that's so great." I mean, it was like a dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go in, and we started doing episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I went in, they would play back my audition tape to remind me of the voice that I was using, because I honestly didn't remember what I did. I mean, I
Right.
just kind of,
Yeah.
so it was a great reminder.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did it. And, the rest kind of is history, because the thing started to run, and I wasn't really aware whether it was really catching on or something. I
Right.
knew it was good, but
Yeah.
I didn't have any barometer for it, you know.
Sure. Because you're in the
So
booth. You don't you're not you don't watch the show or play the games. You just it's a job at that point.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and so one day, maybe I was coming from a session or I was walking around Manhattan,
Hmm.
and I passed a newsstand, and the newsstand, prominently displayed, was the current issue of Newsweek magazine,
Hmm.
which is basically a news magazine. It's not like entertainment oriented. They would do features, but it was all kinds of news. And the cover of Newsweek that week was Ash and Pikachu. And the headline on the cover was Pokemon Phenomenon
Wow.
with an exclamation mark. And it stopped me dead in my tracks. And a voice in my head said, I'm in a phenomenon? I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing. And sure enough, it
Oh.
has turned out to be quite the phenomenon. And to everybody's surprise, including me,
Hmm.
I am enormously grateful to it, and to date, it's the longest running professional job I ever had. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
and because of the staying power of the show, it continues to be the longest job, because I will be at anime conventions and someone will come up to me and say, I used to watch the original episodes when I was a kid, and now I watch them again on Netflix with my kids.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's another
Nice.
generation that's discovering it and enjoying us, and that's unbelievable. It's just like it. It's mind-boggling. So,
Well,
um,
it just goes to show that all of you guys, like you and Veronica Taylor and Eric Stewart, and of course the late and truly great Rachel Lillis, like you guys did
yes,
such a fantastic job. Like
Oh yeah.
I was there every morning at 7 a.m. with my VHS tape in front of the recorder, watching you guys and watching the adventures of Ash and Pikachu, and like you were part of my growing up as a kid. And now I have two 6-year-old nieces. I almost said 5. They just turned 6, and they know who Pokemon is. They know about Pikachu, and they know about Professor Oak, and it's so cool. Like it's you guys have you'll forever. I think it's kind of like being Jiminy Cricket or Bugs Bunny. Like that's
yeah,
forever.
yeah. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. To be part of this original group um, is an amazing thing, and I will never not be grateful for the opportunity
Hmm.
that it's afforded me, and to have, I call it, my little bit of immortality, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that no end. So it's been quite a gift, and and I meet people all the time, who, well, I meet them in all aspects of my life,
Hmm.
and just to give you a little anecdote,
Please.
we have a fish store here on Court Street in Brooklyn. That's just a fantastic fish store, but I've been going there for many years, and behind the counter on the wall is like famous people. So Daniel Craig lives in my neighborhood,
Oh
and
wow.
there's an autographed picture of him on the wall. And Bobby Cannavale,
Oh.
who's a
Mm.
terrific actor, is also in my neighborhood. He's on the wall with an autograph, right?
Right.
So I just decide, for for the heck of it, I'd say to the guys, I said, because I looked at them and I said, they're of a certain age. And I said, I'm just wondering, when you were kids, did you ever watch Pokemon?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
both got stone faced and they went, why? And I
was
said,
like,
well,
yeah.
and I said, well, I used to work on the show. I did a voice on the show. And they said, ooh. And, and I said, well, I was the voice of Professor Oak. And they lost their you-know-what right there.
Yeah.
And they flipped out. And that day, I did not pay for the fish. I took our order home, and they would not take my money. So
There's a lot of benefits.
What a way to get free fish, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And so I came back when I go to cons and stuff. I have a photo of myself dressed as Oak that a photographer friend put me inside a trainer card, and it has my name. It says Stuart Zagnit, the original voice of Professor Oak, and there's a place on the bottom I can autograph it. So that's a popular thing. And I brought the picture in, and they had an empty frame. They threw it in the frame and put it on the wall.
Oh.
So I'm right below Daniel Craig and to the right of Bobby Cannavale. So I made the wall at the fish store.
Well, there you go. Congratulations. Oh,
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Well, tell you what, folks, we're gonna take a super duper quick break here, because I got pictures I gotta load in here, and we got an.
I'm sending more.
Yes.
I'm sending more as we speak.
Yes,
too, so.
absolutely. So we will be right back with the incomparable Stuart Zagnit in just a second. So stay tuned, folks.
What kind of film department are you down there, Fox?
Oh, come on. I just bopped there.
We need a clean slate.
I want you all to meet Chucky Chicken.
I'm starting to think that maybe what it takes to be a famous director just isn't in me after all.
Hey,
And
Chucky.
I'm rambling a bit, aren't I?
Here we go.
Well, good night. Wait, what are you doing? Don't touch that. No, stop it!
This is ridiculous. I ain't washed up yet. It's gonna take a lot more than that to get rid of Freddy.
Cheese and crackers. What are you putting in this water, kid?
Soap?
Soap and water. Like a clean soup. I love it.
Oh.
Keep up the great work, kid.
Attention, everyone. I want you all to meet Chucky Chicken.
We already know Chucky, Miss Chelsea.
We sure do. Fair Duncan best janitor this side of the reefer. Righteous.
Oh, right. Well, you may have known him as the janitor, but now...
Oh, Chuck, you ain't leaving, is you? You was me best mate.
I thought I was your best mate.
No, he's the new co-director.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I'm just embarrassed.
I always thought he was some kind of rat.
Lovely.
Thanks for the fanfare.
Hi kids, Chucky Chicken here. Remember when you're trick-or-treating, be sure that you only go to neighborhoods and areas that you know really, really well. Near Emma.
Chucky. These Halloween traditions are so much fun. I'm so glad I get to experience them for the first time. Especially with you.
Aw. I'm all too happy to celebrate with you, Chelsea. Why don't we take a picture to commemorate the evening? Chelsea, it's getting awful late. Why don't we head for home?
Oh, Chucky, just one more house, please.
Oh, what the hey? One more won't be the death of me.
Oh, good, because there's the house right there.
The old Grayson Manor! Chelsea, isn't there any other place we could go?
It's the only house in town we haven't been to yet. You're not afraid, are you? Well, this is just perfect. The weatherman said nothing about it raining.
Yeah, he did. He said around midnight it was supposed to rain cats and dogs.
I don't see any cats or dogs.
It's an expression.
Whatever. Just rap on the door.
You rap on the door. Well, nobody's there. Time to head back.
Wait, Chucky, look.
Chelsea, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Oh, come on, Chucky. I doubt we are in any real danger.
If you say so.
Good evening.
Very funny, Chucky.
What?
Don't play games with me, Chucky Chicken. I know it was you who said...
Good evening.
Who said that?
That was not you.
Welcome, fowlish mortals, to Grayson Manor. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step this way. We seldom have visitors, and there is much to see in this delightfully dilapidated place.
Thanks anyway, but we gotta get going home.
I'm afraid there's no turning back now.
Huh?
Do not be frightened prematurely. You shall not be harmed, but you also shall not leave without a...
Alrighty, folks, and we are back. Did you miss us?
I missed you all terribly.
Oh, thanks, Professor. So, I know we kind of flash forward a little bit to you, Professor, but I want to go back a little bit and talk about your days on stage, because you have some pretty amazing Broadway stories, and I got pictures to prove it. So,
yes.
So real quickly, we're just going to fire through these. And I'll show them on the screen, and then we can just talk about them one-on-one, or if you have a story. So, what's this one all about?
So there was a play off Broadway that happened, I guess, in the maybe late '80s, and it was called The Basement Tapes.
Okay.
And it was about a imagined meeting of Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and G. Gordon Liddy. G. Gordon Liddy was one of the Watergate guys that broke in during the Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
And this was a meeting in Gerald Ford's Palm Springs basement. And so what happened was the show was going to be running off Broadway, and the guy who was doing Nixon was from California. So I think they used it as a publicity stunt, and it was a slow news day.
Okay.
So they said, well, we're going to be casting for replacements for the Richard Nixon character. And so they had this casting call, and they invited all the TV news outlets to come to the audition.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard about it. I did my own makeup. So what you're seeing there is me as Richard Nixon. So I added a widow's peak. I broadened my nose. I added jowls.
You look
I
just
put a
like
towel. I put a towel
really
under
good.
my shirt to give me like a hunch look.
Uh-huh.
And I went in, and I got more publicity as an out of work actor from that audition that was televised all over, like Live at 5 on Channel 4 had this big feature on it.
Uh-huh.
And they actually used part of my audition that they filmed. And then of course the show ran for a few months and then it wound up closing.
Oh,
so they never had to hire replacements.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But like I said, I got a lot of mileage out of that one audition that I never got.
Oh my gosh! Did you get to say the line? I am not a crook.
I didn't, but they were. Oh, there was another actor, and I think they filmed me sort of ad-libbing with him, giving him instructions. You hunch over, do this. And I said something like, "Oh, you really look like a crook."
There you go.
That got in. So,
oh my gosh!
And then we flash forward years later, and you remember the show 30 Rock?
Of course, yeah.
So 30 Rock, or I think in its second season, it might have been second season. I know the episode was called Rosemary's Baby. Like the movie, and Liz Lemon, Tina Fey, was remembering that one of her heroes was a comedy writer that wrote on a laugh-in type show.
Oh my gosh!
And the guest was, I think, Carrie Fisher was playing her hero, and in the flashback you go back to Liz Lemon's childhood home, and on the TV was Laugh-In. So you had this Goldie Hawn-esque character in a bikini with all these tattoos on her body, and she's dancing, and there's a crowd of protesters, and they needed this actor to look like Richard Nixon to go through the crowds going, "Pardon me, pardon me, pardon me," trying to get through the crowd. And then I get up to the Goldie Hawn character, and she looks at me and says, "Pardon you? I thought you were already pardoned." and then they do the the pop music of the day, and we all start dancing. And that was the bit, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of funny actually.
Oh my gosh, I love that silly stuff. I think that's adorable. I love puns like that.
So and the funny thing is, there was a show on Broadway called Frost Nixon, and one of the guys who was up for the same thing I was the understudy, was the Richard Nixon understudy for Frank Langella, who was playing it, and I got the job over him.
Well, see,
there you go.
Yeah,
I was very proud of myself.
And oh my gosh, as you should be. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
So, all right, let's see here. I do want to talk about this. We're gonna skip a little bit in some of the photos, but we will get back to them. So tell us a little bit about this, because you got to meet the one and only Tom Selleck. What happened here?
Well, I think it was the third season of Blue Bloods. It was just starting.
Okay.
And I got cast. So there was a scene where he was meeting with a couple of people who were in his inner circle at this famous restaurant called Delmonico's in Lower Manhattan.
Yeah.
It's so famous that it's mentioned in the Hello Dolly.
Yes.
Delmonico's. So it's very famous. It's one of the oldest restaurants in New York. So they actually shot in the real Delmonico's. So they took over the restaurant for an entire day.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And because it was in the restaurant, every time they did a camera move, they had to move all the tables around to accommodate the cameras.
Right.
And I was his waiter that came up to the table, and obviously, in the way it's written, he's obviously a regular patron.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing some bantering with him,
right,
which is really funny. And these are like real kind of, serious guys in police work. There's a priest there.
Oh yeah.
And I think I opened the conversation with saying, another round of apple toonies for you gentlemen, which is obviously facetious because, they wouldn't be drinking apple teenies, but,
right.
And it was really fun, and he was really fabulous and would hang out with us and tell us a lot of stories about his connection to professional baseball and all the friends he has and stuff.
Oh.
So it was a nice day, and there were other extras. I mean, I was not an extra; I was a principal, who were dressed to fill out the staff of Delmonico's,
mm-hmm.
and I had the same uniform. So they all thought I was an extra like them.
Oh, oh no!
So I had to set them straight,
Look,
about it.
I ain't no extra.
Which I did.
You
told them.
To share, you see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, oh my gosh, Tino, you just reminded me of this picture that I just got that I want to share here.
Oh yay!
No, I have to ask about this one, and I'm so sorry that I'm jumping around from what you sent me here, Stuart. But this just screams like our show, 100%. So you got to tell me a little bit about this one.
Yes. One of my Broadway shows was
mm-hmm.
the original Broadway production of Newsies.
Yes, Newsies.
And this was something I don't usually do. Usually I'm either the character lead or I'm a featured guy. This time, when it came to Broadway, they were looking. There were like 5 older characters in the show,
mm-hmm.
plus Pulitzer, who was the publisher of the World.
Right.
And so they needed an actor who could cover all of those roles except for Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a job. I absolutely needed a job. So I went in for it, and I got it. And one of the 5 guys was the guy who distributed the papers to the Newsies. His name was, they called him Weasel.
Yes.
And he was a rough guy with a cigar in his, and he was not a sympathetic character, but he had quite a personality. So that's me. I went on in all 5 of those roles, but I think Weasel was my favorite of all of them.
He definitely gives us familiar vibes, don't he, fellas? Only instead of a weasel, it's a turkey.
So if you guys crack wise, you know what you're going to hear from me, right?
No, what are we going to hear from you, Weasel?
I'm trying to. Does anybody know who Eric Idle is?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm sending you a picture.
Okay.
When also one of my Broadway shows was Seussical.
Yes.
The Dr. Seuss musical, and I was the mayor of Whoville.
You were the original mayor of Whoville.
The original mayor of Whoville.
Yes. Don't sell yourself short, because that is.
Well, and here's a backstory. When the show started,
mm-hmm.
they did a reading before it was a Broadway show. So they did a draft, and it turns out that Eric Idle co-wrote the book with Lynn Ahrens, who was half of Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty, the songwriting team.
Right.
So when we did our first presentation, only for industry people, not for the public.
Right.
Eric Idle read the part of the Cat in the Hat.
Wow.
And he did that. I just sent the picture.
I just got it.
So and you can see me much younger.
What are you talking about? You look exactly the same.
Thank you. Then don't get those eyes checked, okay? so I'm trying to think. Does anybody know who Eartha Kitt is?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Yzma from she was the original Catwoman, and she was
Catwoman. Okay,
Yep.
So here's another one I'm sending you.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So Seussical became my second Broadway show. My first Broadway show was a show called The Wild Party, and Eartha Kitt was one of the stars of it. So Eartha Kitt, Mandy Patinkin, Toni Collette, and I had a featured role in the show, one of the two producers. And Eartha Kitt, who I was in awe of, she was ferocious on stage. In real life, she was one of the nicest, sweetest, laid-back people I've ever met.
Oh, that's good to know.
And so the picture I'm sending now was I forget, it was obviously off stage, and we were, I think, at a bar or something, and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm so grateful to have been able to work with her. And she's the definition of a professional. She just came in, and when she needed it, she turned it on, and the audience just loved her.
There she is, the late great Eartha Kitt. Oh, yeah.
Well, to have rubbed elbows with these people is kind of amazing. Was there a picture I sent with 3 people, with me, with a woman, and a...
There was.
It was from Into the Woods.
Yes, the lady wearing the baseball cap. Here, I'll pull that one up here for you real quick.
And the man to my is Stephen Sondheim.
No kidding.
Who wrote Into the Woods. This was the national tour of Into the Woods.
Holy cow.
And so here's the story.
Yes.
I was hired as an understudy to the Baker. The Baker's one of the lead roles.
Right.
And Judy in the baseball cap, she was on as one of the wicked stepsisters, but she also understudied the Baker's wife.
Nice.
And the young gentleman on the other side is Kevin Wright, who played Jack and the Beanstalk. So I had requested a performance on the tour. You could actually request a performance in a role that you covered. And if the person who normally did the role agreed, he would get the day off. You'd get to do the show. Nobody got any different money.
Right.
And you got the credit. So you can say, I performed it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And I happened to pick the last Saturday matinee when the show was at the Kennedy Center.
Ooh.
And I was so ready for that performance. I can't tell you how hard I worked. And I couldn't wait to get to the theater. I remember getting to the Kennedy Center, and I was there so early. The stagehands had not even opened the door to let the actors in. So I had to wait in the parking lot until I opened the doors. And the show just went as amazingly as I ever could have wished. It was like a perfect day.
That's always so good.
And we get to the end of the performance, and the curtain comes down. We're all on stage. The audience, you can hear them applauding. The stage manager comes out while we're all still on stage, and he goes, "Somebody wants to say hello to you all."
Ooh.
And he brings Stephen Sondheim out from the wings. It turns out that he had regular house seats that he'd often give to either family members or friends. And the stage manager noticed there was somebody sitting in Stephen Sondheim's seat. And it took him almost half of the first act to realize it was Stephen Sondheim sitting in his seat. And mercifully, he had the good sense not to tell us during the show. Because having been so laser focused on doing my first show, that's all I would have needed to probably put me into
yeah.
a state. So,
Oh.
so when that happened, and one of the other stepsisters turned to me, and she said, "You are the luckiest SOB I have ever met in my life." And she was right. I really was the luckiest. So he had seen the show, and he stayed after and gave notes.
Yeah.
He gave notes as if I did the show every night of the week, and I was on a cloud. So that was just a real joy for me. So.
And at that point, you marched right to the director and you said, "I have to do the show every week from now on. I'm the new baker."
Right, and they were really sorry to see me go. Except for the gentleman who was doing the role regularly.
Yeah,
he was not thrilled because he had wanted Sondheim to come see him, and
I can only imagine.
But that was just fate, because nobody could have possibly known that he was going to be there. So
I mean, holy cow! That's
where fate just does what it does, you know.
Fate
and
is kind.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's where it's like the magic of the theater. Magical things happen. You don't know what they're going to be.
That is so true. And speaking of magical, wonderful things happening, you want to talk us a little bit about this amazing role?
Well, I think everybody knows Wicked, right? So,
yeah, I've heard of it.
So, one of the high points was being offered to do the national tour of Wicked, which has been on the road now for 22 or 23 years. And I did the tour from August of 2015 to November of 2016. So that's 15 months, and it was a fantastic job. I loved the role. I loved the show, and we went all over the country. So I felt very blessed to have done that show, and that's a picture of me in front of the Oz head, they called it, and of course I thought that Jeff Goldblum was great, just a little too tall, but
Well, I haven't seen the film yet.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
I have
okay.
not yet, but I'm going to. So
I'll just tell you, it's fabulous. It's really fabulous. And I can, and having been really intimately involved with the show, I can still step back and go, it's just amazing. It's amazing on so many levels. So
yeah,
I think you'll enjoy it. Do you see the picture of me with Alan Cumming?
Alan Cumming. Let's see here.
I sent that early.
Yes, this one right here, right?
He had a series called Instinct that ran, I think, 2 seasons, and I was cast to do a eulogy at a funeral. And it was kind of comical.
Okay.
Because the character was a volunteer acting coach. And, I mean, the whole idea of that was kind of funny, and the way it was written. So he played a detective. He and his partner were sort of hanging back in the background during the ceremony, the ceremony where I was speaking. So after we finished, and we actually shot it in a cemetery in Brooklyn. After, when I do things with people, if it goes well, which it usually does, but I figure I'll take a shot and I'll say, would you mind if we do a selfie? In his case, he ripped the phone out of my hand and he took the picture. I said, that is such a nice thing. He's taking the picture. He was very enthusiastic about it. So.
Oh my God! I mean, it sounds like it went really well then.
It went really well. Yes. I think he was very amused by my delivery. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so cool. You've rubbed elbows with so many really cool people, and I'm really excited about this next one because you and I had a conversation about it yesterday.
Yes.
You were in you want to tell us a little bit about your time with Little Shop?
Yes, Little Shop of Horrors is like part of my DNA now. A friend of mine, the show first started off Broadway at a little small theater called the WPA, which I think it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
And it was down on the Lower West Side in the 20s under a railroad tracks, under like an elevated railroad. And a friend of mine knew Ron Taylor, who was the original voice of Audrey 2.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, we have to go see this show. A friend of mine's in it. So we went to the WPA and I saw this show, and it just like, it blew me away. I couldn't believe this show. And I said, this is the greatest little musical I've ever seen. This is a great show. This is a great role. And I want to play that role.
Yeah.
So the show was well received, and then it moved to the Orpheum Theater in Lower Manhattan on Second Avenue, where it stayed for 5.5 years. And towards the end of the run, they had a replacement call, and I went to the audition. I had recently done the show the year before at a theater in Birmingham, Michigan, not Birmingham, Alabama. And so at least I got I got to know the show by doing that production, you know, in that little theater. I went in determined to win. I got the show, and basically I did the show until it closed. I closed that show. So Howard Ashman, who we all know from Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, he was the original director and book writer,
right?
And wrote the lyrics. So he was still very much alive then, and he came to the second to the last show because he didn't like closing nights. I guess it was something that didn't make him happy, so he came the night before.
Sure.
And somehow we met, and it's a tiny theater. Somehow I didn't run into him backstage after that show. So the final night, I come to work, and sitting on my dressing table is a handwritten note from Howard Ashman thanking me for sending the show out on a high note, and he was thrilled. And I cherish that letter from him. It's one of my prized possessions. So
wow, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
And Alan Menken, who wrote the music, who I also worked with in Newsies, he came to the closing night with the original Audrey, which was Ellen Green.
Yes.
And I got to meet her for the first time. And Alan I've met many times since with Newsies, and we did a Tiny Desk concert. Literally the week I had just joined the show, we were scheduled to do a Tiny Desk, so I got to sing on that presentation, which was great.
Wow.
So
that's a dream.
You know, magic things happen.
There's something about theater that, something special about it.
And I'll tell you this, some of the greatest actors all came. I was watching, there was a television show a long time ago, I think it was called Dinner for Five, and the particular episode that I was watching had Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Charles Nelson Riley, and two other people. And Charles, of course, being Charles, he goes, I gotta tell you, all the great names and all the people that we can impersonate, and the people who are memorable today, the Clark Gables, the Mae Wests, all the W.C. Fields, all these amazing people, they'll live forever, and you can't really impersonate any of the other people that you see today, and that's because they haven't ever had any experience on a stage. And it was so true. And he smiled and he put the napkin down, curtain down. So, And it's so true. Like I think that if you're gonna be an actor, you gotta get your chops on the stage because you learn so much about performing and about just the ins and outs and the workings of it. And it's so important. I love that. I love those stories so much. And so not only were you Seymour, but then did you ever get a chance to go back and play another character on that show?
34 years later, if you can imagine that, I was doing a bunch of little shows, little readings and stuff, and I get a call from my agent who said, "We have an offer for you," because I was supposed to do an off-Broadway show at a theater called 59 East 59th, and it's a complex, and they have 5 or 6 productions running simultaneously in there. It's very busy, very well attended. So I had an offer to do that show, and while I'm doing this reading, my agent says, "You have an offer. You can." They want to know if you want to come in and do Mr. Mushnick in this off-Broadway production of Little Shop of Horrors, which I knew about and knew it was well received. And I said, this is kind of one of those opportunities you never get.
Right.
Because there's 2 roles, and in 1987 I was a perfect Seymour, and now I'm a perfect Mr. Mushnick. So I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn the other thing down, which I'm glad I did, because stuff that when I looked at the script, the stuff that they had me doing, anybody could do. It wasn't anything that was really going to stand out as far as I could tell. And I had a ball playing Mr. Mushnick.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
And let me see. I'm going to find, because that's the kind of person I am, I'm going to find a picture of me as Mr. Mushnick.
I love it. And as you can see, we got you. Yeah, we got.
Oh, there's me. So this was the production I did before I did New York.
Oh,
this was the production in Birmingham, Michigan. This is the gentleman who is based out of Boston, and he was the dentist.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a great picture. I love that. It's all the horror that Seymour's feeling is right there on my face. So.
And warranted too, because that dentist was a menace. Holy cow!
Absolutely, he was. Yes, he was. He was not a sweetheart by any means.
Well, I mean, unless you count the movie when he was played by Steve Martin, but who counts the movie?
Yes, of course.
Did you get like a invitation to audition for the movie?
No, didn't get an audition for the movie. You know what? The translation from theater to film, it's like they love it when stars come in and perform on Broadway, but they don't really respect the people that are in the trenches doing that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole different protocol and whatnot. So they kind of we weren't even on their radar, to be honest. And I would think, a show with that kind of history, like I would have loved to have had a cameo in the movie of Wicked, but so many people have gone through that show,
right,
over the years, that there's like a whole you could fill a city, with all the actors that have performed there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, I'm very proud that I've been a part of it, and, grateful and all that. So
yeah. But
I'm still looking.
Yeah, no,
looking for Mr. Mushnick here.
Well, I'm going to share this one that you just shared with me because I think this is absolutely adorable. You got to tell us a little bit about this one.
So, as you can see, I'm quite young there. I'm probably about 10, 11, maybe. And there was a famous ventriloquist named Paul Winchell.
Love Paul. Yes.
So Paul he carried the torch after Edgar Bergen, and he created Jerry Mahoney. This is a Jerry Mahoney doll.
Yes.
That was his star, and where Edgar Bergen had Charlie McCarthy and what was his name?
Mortimer Snerd.
Mortimer, yes, Mortimer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jerry Mahoney, and he had a similar type of guy, who was the character guy, and Jerry was very funny too.
Yeah.
Jerry was such a hit that they actually made a commercial saleable ventriloquist dummy, and the box looked like a suitcase.
Oh.
So he came in his own suitcase, and I'm not sure if that was the original outfit, or I had like a little baby jumper that I like put on him as an alternate thing, and I would do puppet shows, for my kids in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really good about hiding my about lip moves, but I was still entertaining, and I used to do hand puppet shows for friends too. So
yeah.
So let's see. So I'm gonna send. This is one for more recent.
Yes. And for those who don't know who Paul Winchell was, not only was he an amazing ventriloquist, but he was also an amazing voice actor. He was the original voice of Tigger for Winnie the Pooh. He was Gargamel in the Smurfs. He was Dick Dastardly in the Wacky Races.
Not only that, but he actually was kind of a scientist, and he was working on an artificial heart.
Yes.
That at the time, and I think the one that was used, there was a competitor who Dr. DeBakey used for the first artificial heart transplant. And I think it was probably heartbreaking for him, because I think he really wanted that to be, his
legacy.
No, yeah, known as that. Oh, I'm finding all these great pictures.
No, I love it. It's funny.
So cool.
I heard a really sad story about Paul. I don't know if you knew this or not, but when they were doing the Tigger movie in the late 90s, early 2000s, Paul went in to go, of course, perform as Tigger, as he had always done for that point, like 30 years. Right. And the Disney animation team were like, you're too raspy. You don't sound like Tigger anymore. And it was so heartbreaking, because, and at that point they, Paul had been working with Jim Cummings, who had taken over for Winnie the Pooh for
right.
Yeah, for Sterling Holloway. And he apparently, the story goes that he went to Jim and he said, "Hey, take care of my little buddy, would you?" But there was a happy ending, because when they were building the ride at Disney World, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the Imagineers had heard that story, and they immediately called Paul, and they were like, "We want you to be Tigger in the ride." So it was such a happy ending, and it was his last performance that he ever did as Tigger.
He had an amazing run. This guy really had a very long career, and he was a big influence. His show, I still have the Jerry Mahoney dummy in my closet somewhere. I can't get rid of it. It's just
of course
it's
not.
a part of my childhood. So.
Of course not. Yeah, and nor would we. I don't think anybody would expect you to. Like, at that point, if they're saying get rid of Jerry Mahoney, say, get out of my life at that point.
Right. Fortunately, right now, there's nobody around to say that, and I really appreciate that.
There you go. I love it. Oh my gosh.
As long as somebody doesn't go rooting around in my closet and go, "What's that? What's this here?"
It's none of your business. That's what that is. Just keep on walking.
Right. none of your beeswax there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you asking questions for? You're writing a book? Oh my gosh. What was that? I do have a question for the stream, but I don't know the words at the moment, but I want to know about the process of voice recording information.
People ask. Go ahead.
Tino here has a question, but he doesn't have the words for it. So,
I'm not eloquent tonight. I'm sorry.
It's okay. He wants to know what the process is for doing anime dubs and voiceover for animation in general.
Well, I mean, it's something you learn on your feet. I mean, what we had now, it's different now because I did all my stuff going to various studios that were doing the recordings. And now, like the new generation of Pokemon actors, everybody works from home. They all do their stuff at home and send it in. So it is literally a new world, not one that I'm accustomed to. So in those days, we would go in, they'd have the scenes queued up, and there would be a time code that you'd watch, because that would help you also know the seconds that you had for, and we call them lip flaps. So, whereas, Disney will record people's voices and they will animate to the voices.
Yep.
In Pokemon, we got the video already done and edited, and our job was to fit our voice to the lip flaps that were already there. So it was a talent that was even more specialized, because you have to act like you have the freedom to create that stuff, even though you're constrained to what you see in front of you.
Right.
So
it
made it, I credit myself. Here, I'm going to send you my first Mr. Mushnick picture.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Which I finally found them. And what was fun is sometimes you'd find out that the English copy didn't always fit with your delivery. So then our job was to make it fit. And which was, a challenge. But we did do it. And sometimes you'd have to come up with a quick a syllable difference in alternative to make the things fit. And I love that challenge,
Oh yeah.
Nice. It's like a talent on itself.
What's that?
A talent on itself, I mean.
Yes. So like, for instance, in Pokemon 2000,
yes,
there was a scene where I think I'm jumping out of a Jeep, and it's toward the very end of the movie, because we were finally catching up to Ash, and it was very tense. And I jump out, and then all of a sudden you see him wince, and he reaches back to his back, and I think the line was, "Oh, my back," right? And I went, "That's not funny," and I just so we're in the studio, and I said, "Can I just try something?" And they go, "Yeah, sure." So we go back to the thing, and when he does that, I went, "Ooh, my lumbago."
Oh my, yes, I love that.
And it got a laugh, just like, and I said, lumbago is so much funnier because it's an old-timey back condition.
Yeah.
But you don't even hear that anymore.
I struggle with lumbago myself.
And I was really proud of myself because I made up that line.
Oh my God, what a line
that's
too.
So nice.
That's so cool. I'm glad that they gave you the flexibility to like change the lines and the verbiage a little bit. So
yes, and I think it made that moment. Theater and that kind of stuff is all the same. You have moments of tension, and if you can break the tension, find moments where that works, it just relieves the audience. They are ready to laugh and enjoy themselves.
Absolutely.
So it just gives them the opportunity to do that, and I love that. So
oh hell yeah, I love that. I mean, and that's for me, that's my favorite kind of comedy, right? Those moments that just come out of nowhere, where there'll be like two people arguing and screaming at the top of the lungs, and one character just goes, "Mom, Dad, please stop fighting."
Right. Yes, exactly. So,
well, that didn't
right,
get
so
big of a laugh, but oh, here we go.
and I just sent you. So there's Mr. Mushnick.
Uh-huh.
That's one, and then I'm sending you a pose from one of the opening scenes of the show when Seymour first reveals Audrey 2.
Yep. I'm getting it right now, and I'll be sure to share with the folks here. Just give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. There's the 1 shake, and then there's the 2 shake. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
So Seymour is Rob McClure, very talented actor. Tammy Blanchard was the original Audrey in this production. That's me, and then Christian Borle, who is a two-time Tony winner, playing the
salesman
and others.
Yeah. Oh my god! And then was this with this wasn't Michael Woolley as Audrey, was it?
No. Michael Woolley?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, he is Michael. I think it's Michael J. Woolley. He was Louis the Alligator in Princess and the Frog.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
we had alternating people.
Yeah.
Who are Audrey, but I have to remember the names. Oh my God, forgive me.
No, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
Right, but no, that was not that gentleman you mentioned, but
yeah, because he was the voiceover for Audrey too in the show. So I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me. You know what? Before I continue to make a further fool of myself here, let me see when he was in the cast here. Give me a quick second here.
Okay.
Michael Leon Woolley was in the 2003 revival.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we crossed paths. Maybe he was either there before me or right after.
Oh, at the Virginia Theater, renamed the August Wilson Theater in 2005.
So. Okay. No, that was the Broadway production that was directed by Jerry Zaks, which I was not in.
Oh, okay.
It happened. It was the first and only time the show was done on Broadway.
Oh.
And it had a rather short run. This version that I'm in now is back off Broadway, in a very similar way that the original production was. And I think the show works really well in a more intimate setting. So apparently that Broadway production was very big, and I didn't see it, so I can't. I won't pass any judgment on it. But
I heard the soundtrack. The soundtrack was really nice.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
We did a reunion, Little Shop. I think it was the 23rd, or it was a long time ago.
Sure.
There's a separate club, cabaret space called 54 Below, which is right below Studio 54, and I've done several shows, upstairs at Studio 54. It's a Broadway theater, and the cabaret space 54 Below is downstairs. And we did a Little Shop reunion at the time. So I thought of the opening of Little Shop, and it stands with carrying the banner from Newsies, which I was doing at the time. And I wrote this mashup of the 2 songs in which I got to do Seymour again in that mashup.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
and it really went well. And the 2 songs really sounded great together.
Oh my God, you're so right. Little shop of horrors. Yeah.
So this was Skid Row, which is
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown.
On Skid Row.
Yeah.
And then I went. We went I don't know how we did it, but we were doing carrying the banner, and then all of a sudden I come up with a broom, and I'm doing poor. All my life I've always been poor. They keep asking God, and it's when I was doing Mushnik off Broadway. When I was off stage, I was singing all the Seymour songs.
That is so cool.
Oh, that's so nice.
Oh.
Because it's still, it was a part of me. So.
Oh, that never goes away. Oh my gosh.
No.
Real quickly, I do got to shout out that Tamrico coming in with a $50 super chat donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Tamrico.
wow.
He says, Mike, Elias, Tino, you know the drill, smiley face, but I can't stay.
Yeah,
with this,
know.
Yes, with this and Toonie hug suffice. And also, good evening, Mr. Zagnet. Hope you're doing well and taking care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's so sweet. Tamrico, he comes in clutch every stream, just about.
Tamrico is a crazy person.
Let's go to the
but we
tote
love him.
board and see how we're doing.
Yes.
Come on, let's get those. Come on, people, call. Let's get those checks coming in. Come
Please, yes, thank you. You heard him. You heard him, folks. Get those donations coming. Come on, folks, let's do it.
Yes, please help me so I can change the locks at the lab and keep Gary out.
Yes, absolutely. We gotta help Professor Oak, folks. Give your money. Come on. I don't know why I did that. That was weird. I'm so sorry. That was a weird delivery there.
In all that, I didn't send you any of my pictures as Oak, did I?
You did not. No,
Well,
I have no picture of Oak.
So before we go, let me find one there that I
Yes. I do want to. I did find this one. It looks like. Were you on an episode of Monk, if I'm not mistaken? Let's see here.
I wish I was. No.
Oh.
No, that
Wow.
was from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh.
And he was the father in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And in this episode, it's the third episode of the fourth season. It's called Everything Is Belmore. And there was the whole episode culminates in this very big extended bar mitzvah scene. and they hired me to be the rabbi. And Tony Shalhoub's character, he in the course of the series, he's changed professions many times. That season, he's a theater critic.
Oh, wow.
So he reviews a cousin's show and writes a terrible review. and his entire family and the congregation, including the rabbi, all are hostile to him because it's like he's betrayed them by panning the show. And so we're in the middle of a bar mitzvah scene, and I'm talking to the bar mitzvah boy, and then I turn to speak to the congregation, and I'm glaring at Tony Shalhoub, sending him these daggers, and he's getting more uncomfortable, and basically the entire group turns on him. So,
oh, nice!
And it was really hysterical and fun to do, and I had a ball working with him, and he was great. And he came over to me and say, "Give me all the horrible looks you can. I really want you to make me squirm." And I said, "No problem."
There's nothing worse than getting eye spears from a rabbi or a preacher in general.
It was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Stuart, this has been. I don't want it to end. We have so many really cool more stories here.
That's great.
So I know you got to send me the Oak one, and then
Yes.
I did want to ask about this one because obviously it is a Pokemon Go.
So
go ahead.
Yes, I was on tour with Wicked, and we were in, I think, Houston, and somebody invited me to a Pokemon Go evening. Started just before sunset, so I went, and there was one above me, and someone snapped a picture of it. Because eventually everybody finds out that I'm Oak, so it just and I'm very proud of that. So here's one. I'm going to send you one.
Okay.
This is me at an anime convention, and a couple came to it, and they brought this, what you're going to see,
Okay.
with them. They didn't give it to me. I wouldn't want something that large, but here it comes. So
All
take
right.
a look.
And
you'll see me.
Oh my!
And they literally dragged that in. It wasn't even in a cart or something. And they dragged it around the con all day. I don't know how they did that. So
that is fantastic. I want it. I need it. I 100% need it. And so for you guys, here it is. Look what Professor Oak caught. He's watching Ash's Snorlax.
I was very impressed that they went to all that trouble and brought it with them.
That's, oh my gosh. That's so cool.
And there's one final one that I'm going to send to you right now.
And you look like Professor Oak. Like, not only do you sound
a little bit,
like, I mean, I think it's safe to say that you are Oak. Like, do you?
I don't know I don't know whether I grew into him or he grew into me, but we certainly have melded. And I genuinely feel that way, that we have a cosmic connection.
So
the line is pussy.
So you don't ever get like mad when people go, "Hey, Professor," or anything like that. That's
no. It's in fact, it's a nice. I would say 99% of the time they don't know who I am when they see me in street clothes. But if I ask them a question and they answer it correctly, the response definitely changes very quickly. So here I am at a typical appearance, and I have a banner in back of me. So sort of you get an idea of, and I usually have a long table in front of me with all my pictures and stuff that I peddle.
That's so. Oh my gosh. Well, where's the next convention where people can see you? Because I'm sure that we have so many people that are just dying to meet you.
I'm going to be all around. I am doing one in Connecticut. That's the most recent one on February the 22nd.
Okay.
At the let me come up with the name of it. It's a toy actually a toy store.
Oh.
And let me see here. I'll come up with it. Messages here.
I got that song stuck in my head now. Thank you, Stuart.
It's Blueberry. It's called Blueberry Cat Collectibles.
Okay.
And it's in Connecticut. What city is it in here? It's Connecticut. I can look it up. Blueberry Cat Collectibles.
There we go.
It's north of New Haven.
Prospect.
There you go. Thank you, Prospect.
And
I'll be there on February the 22nd. Pretty much the whole day from like noon to 5 or 6. So
nice.
And then I'm doing stuff I'm jumping around the country a little bit. So if you want, I can send you a list.
Yes.
And then if you want to, spread it around to your fans.
100%. We'll have the list of all the places that you're going to be in the description when I get it. And you better come back. Like, we need you to come back. Like, we've had a few guests, but I got to tell you, this has probably been one of the most fun that I've had on a podcast in a while. Truly. Truly. This is wonderful. Having such a great time.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you for those wonderful comments. And it's very nice to know that I have fans out there, and I appreciate that. I'm very grateful to all of you. So
yes, and we're grateful to you. Thank you for everything that you've done. So please stick around for after the show. I'm going to go ahead and close things out here, but I want to chat with you a little bit, or we want to chat for just a little bit more, if that's okay.
Sure, and then I have to go grab some dinner.
Yes, absolutely. It's yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's
Well,
about that time.
yes. So let me do that YouTube thing here real quick.
All right.
If you folks have enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give us a like. If you are a fan of Stuart, I'll leave all the links to all of his stuff down below. Make sure that you follow him on all the social medias. And please give us a like. Leave us a comment down below if you're watching live. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. We are live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on YouTube. If you want to continue to support the show, we are also on Coffee. Head on over to ko-fi.com/Chucky Chicken Cartoons. It's right there on the bottom. And give us a little bit of a thank you. 1, 5, 10, 20, doesn't matter. Every little bit helps. And if you're feeling so inclined and you want to wear Chucky on a t-shirt, head on over to our Fourth Wall merch store. But in the meantime, Stuart Zagnit, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been
my pleasure, and very nice to talk to you all.
And, yes, and of course you too, Professor Oak. Thank you,
Yes.
and please give my regards to Ash Ketchum and all of the folks in Palatown.
Yes, and someone wants to say hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pikachu! Oh my God, I choose you, Pikachu. You're my boy. Oh my gosh. Well, in the meantime, for the Cluckin Crew, I'm Mike Cook.
I'm Elias.
I am Tina.
And you know who I am.
And thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.